What's poppin', fam? Welcome to another episode of Life with Taiwo, the podcast. First things first, listen, I love y'all down because would you believe me if I said this was my third time recording this episode? Literally recorded the last two episodes. It was absolutely flawless. But the first one, okay, I had to scrap because first things first, it wasn't even plugged in. I was just talking to myself this whole entire time. I guess I must have hit something and thought I was recording and I wasn't. I was literally so irritated. Then the second recording had a bunch of pops and clicks because I clicked something else too that was transmitting so much noise on my mic. So I had to scrap that because I know that you guys would not want to hear it pops and clicks, even though it was a flawless episode. So now third time's a charm. So we're gonna just go for it. So I really wanted to get this recording to you guys. It's literally 1 a.m. Okay. And I said, I am not a quitter. We don't quit around here. Okay. The devil is a liar. Okay. This episode is going out because of what this episode means to me. And I'm sure what it would mean to a lot of people. So we're not quitters. We're going to try this again. Okay. Period. And yeah. So first things first, I have literally a flight in the next 48 hours. We are going to lay my husband's grandfather to rest. He passed away last night in his sleep. He was 84 years old. I was so surprised by this because I really thought this man was going to live to be 100. Just such an amazing person, amazing father, or such a great man, honestly. And we're all really shocked to hear the news. So yeah, so we're going up there to lay him to rest and give him an amazing homegoing. And yeah, rest in peace, Grandpa Bunch. We will miss you. You were everything to all of us, and we really appreciate the time that we got to spend with you. I appreciate the time that I got to spend with you. Even my daughter. We went up there over the summer and she met him for the first time, and I'm just now all the pictures and the videos that I have from that trip is so special. I mean, it was special before he passed, but now that he's passed on, I just can't wait to share that with my daughter when she's older, that she got to meet her great grandparent. She actually got to meet her great grandparents. She has four more that are still here with us, which is such a blessing, such an amazing blessing. So rest in peace, Grandpa Bunch. We will miss you. And yeah, we can't wait to give you the most amazing homegoing this week. So yeah, so I am headed out literally in the next 48 hours, but I really wanted to get this episode to you guys because yeah, we don't quit around here. It doesn't matter if I have to re-record again. By God's grace, I won't. Hopefully this is this is perfect and we can just move on. But anyway, so I want to say shout out to you guys. Oh my God. Y'all showed up and showed out, okay? The first episode, there was so much love. I was not expecting all that love. You guys are so sweet. I mean, calls, DMs, texts. Y'all went in on your girl, and I really appreciate you. Oh my goodness. Talk about encouragement. Listen, I'm just doing my thing because this is what God is calling me to do. I'm not even looking for instant gratification anymore. That is not my ministry. Okay, I done moved on from that. Okay. I want God to be pleased with me. So I'm doing what He's telling me to do. But I appreciate the encouragement too. And I thank you so much for all your texts, your calls, your DMs, everything. It was so sweet. And I really appreciate it. Okay. So we're going to move on to what the episode is about. As you can see, what the title says, my relationship with weed. That's if I don't change it. But my relationship with weed is what it is right now as I'm currently speaking. Girl, your girl was hooked on phonics. Okay. Your girl was hooked on that ganja. Okay. And this is a space where we speak our truth. We're honest. And I don't care if anybody judges me for the things I share today. You can judge me if you want to. I'm speaking my truth. And I know I'm not the only one that's been in this space in my life before. I know that I'm not the only one that has been bound to something that seemed innocent, but really isn't. It's not a poem. It's not an ode to weed. Your girl was hooked on phonics. Listen, I was hooked on that ganja. Okay. No, I have to be real with y'all because Life with How the podcast is all about being real. It's all about stop, mama. You can judge me for saying this. That is your business. I'm speaking my truth. If this has the opportunity to free anybody that was in the position that I was in, that is what this is about. We're a community here. There's no judgment. This is a safe zone. We talk about whatever, okay? But your girl was hooked on phonics. Listen, I just would always find myself like really overwhelmed, like very easily, really just startled, really on edge. And I didn't know, I don't want to say I had anxiety. I would never claim that on my life, but I would say that I was overwhelmed very easily, very frequently. And I just didn't know what that was. I think anyone that was raised in a Nigerian household, like, has some level of, God forbid, anxiety. Like, seriously. Because sometimes, like, come on, Nigerian parents, sometimes that could be a little overbearing. It's a lot. It's a thing. And don't let y'all be abusive. Oh my goodness. Then it's just hell on earth. Like, but for real. So I just always found myself just always startled very quickly. I was very overwhelmed. I was very on edge, but I didn't know what that was. I just I just thought that's how I was. But really and truly, because I was living in fear every day. You never knew when you were gonna get punched in the face, get slapped in the face, get punished for no reason. So I was always on my toes. So I remember when I was introduced to weed, I think I was like 22, 23. And I remember I felt like I was very high strung. I was very like, you know, how people be like, you have your panties in a bunch. I was always just, I wouldn't say uptight. Maybe I was uptight. Maybe I was uptight. I was a virgin. I just didn't really do anything. I didn't have many outlets besides school and work. And so I just was always on my grind all the time. So maybe I was a little uptight. But then when I was introduced to weed, I remember hitting the blunt for the first time. And girl, I was like, wow, I feel so free. I feel so amazing. Wow. Girl, it felt like all of my worries just like went out the window. I felt like I had no care in the world. I wasn't as like high strung. I just kind of felt really just free. And obviously, when something gives you such a rush like that, such a feeling like that, you might be bound to it unintentionally, of course, because weed is not something people condemn. It's something that people normalize. It's big in our society, something we just do, and it's not a big deal. People don't think about it. They don't think about it like it's a big deal. So um, God made it. It's from the earth. It's not. It's underneath the ground. You know, so we could smoke it. It's not a big deal. It's a leaf that we just like light a fire to. Wrong, false, all of the above. Because if I tell you the way God scolded me, okay, with this habit that I had, girl. And I just wanted to share that with you guys because I don't know who else was bound by weed or is bound by weed, but I just wanted to share my testimony because wow. So hit the blunt. I was feeling real good. I'm like, wow, now I feel like I need this. I need to smoke all the time. But I didn't think it was a big deal because it's something that's normalized in our society. And I remember God was like scolding me, like literally telling me that you're putting this in place of me. I want you to come to me for your peace. I want you to come to me for your joy. I want you to come to me for rest, but you're going to smoke. And you're forgetting all about me. Don't you know that I'm a jealous God? Don't you know that like I want to be the only one? Don't you know that? And rightfully so. God is God. We be treating God like he's not God. Like he can't just fuck us some shit. Like, excuse my French. You know, we treat him like he's not who he is. So I remember when I would smoke, I just didn't think it was a big deal at first. I thought it was just, because when you smoke, the most I would do would have the munchies. And I was like, at least I'm not on heroin. Like, God forbid. I don't even understand people that do hard drugs like that, like, or pills. I don't really understand. Like, weed is the only thing that I would ever do is weed. Like, I'm not a huge drinker. I don't like to drink. I don't like alcohol. It's not really my thing. But if I smoke a joint, I'm thinking it's not a big deal. But girl, it is. And it was to God because I look to that for solace. I look to that for peace, for comfort, and for joy. There will be times like in the past when I got off work or something and I knew I was about to smoke, I'd be so happy. Like I would get like the dopamine, like I would be so excited. I'm about to be high. Oh my God. Like, and even saying high, it sounds so conk. It sounds so because it just has such a negative connotation because like people that do all types of hard drugs, that's the term they use too. So it just kind of feels so it feels just yuck. Like I don't want to like associate myself with that, but it's real. It's the truth. Um so yeah, when I would smoke, let's just get right into it. See, we don't we we don't tiptoe, we go right into it. So I would smoke all the time. And one thing about weed that people don't talk about is obviously when the high wears off, you feel like you have to do it again. And even with weed, sometimes you can smoke so much to the point where smoking becomes your norm and you can't be sober. And when you are sober, you feel weird, you feel on edge, you feel the anxiety times 10. And now you feel like you have to run to the weed. And that was the problem. That's when it became an idol for me. And God showed me how it was a form of idolatry, and God really had to share that with me because I remember um, we went on vacation, and girl, I was smoking. I was going in because I hadn't smoked throughout my pregnancy. I didn't smoke at all throughout breastfeeding. So once I was like, when I was greenlit, when I was cleared, girl, I was hitting the blunt every day. We're on vacation too. Listen, I was enjoying myself. I was having the time of my life. It was on and popping. And I remember God talking to me and was like, I don't like this. I don't like that you're doing this. I don't like that this is what you're doing right now. I don't like that. I don't want you to be high. I want you to be of sober mind. I want you to be sober minded. And the thing about the Lord is when he speaks to me, I really listen. And I feel like whenever I was high, I couldn't really hear the voice of the Lord. And that was scary to me. But you're already in that state. So you're not really like thinking. Your mind is thinking about everything and you're paranoid. That's another thing. Smoking makes you paranoid and you're always on edge because your vision is altered, it's impaired. It's not really what you would typically do. Like for example, when we smoke, what is something we do that we typically wouldn't do? You eat a bunch of food, you get the munchies. That's gluttony. So you're just eating uncontrollably, and that's not something you would typically do if you were sober minded. So God was showing me that smoking was a spirit, and getting high, there was a spirit behind it. Because one thing about the enemy that he does, he likes to keep you in a cycle. He likes to keep you doing the same thing over and over again because he's not like God. He can't be everywhere at once at the same time. He can't be with everybody at once at the same time. So what he does is he keeps you bound to a cycle because he knows when he leaves and when he comes back, he'll find you there. That's where he'll find you. So God was showing me different scenarios of how we can alter you and how it's not of him. So he gave me this vision of Aladdin because I love Disney movies. It's like one of my favorites. I could watch Disney movies for the rest of my life. So he showed me Aladdin. Um, Jafar was the advisor of the Sultan, and he had this rod that was in the form of a snake that he would use to control the Sultan. And this was the imagery that God was giving me. And so he gave me that vision, and I love that he does this because he'll use something that's so precious to us as an example to prove his point and to share his thoughts on something. So he was pretty much just like telling me when you smoke, you're being controlled by something that is not of me. It's not of me. And you are a queen of this body. You're a queen of this vision that I've put in you to store it. You are a queen of everything that I've given you. And I want you to store it like fervently. And oh Lord, I have chills. And he was like, and when you're not sober minded, you're giving authority to something else, to someone else that's not me. Because what is that thing that makes us want to eat so much whenever we smoke? What is that thing? What's that feeling where it's uncontrollable? Almost like we're like zombie out, just eating uncontrollably. Like we don't even have a pit in our stomach. We're just eating uncontrollably. What is that? When you think about that, when you take yourself out of that situation and you look from the outside looking in, like, why did we do that? Why can't we control how much we eat? We're just doing it. And God was just telling me, because that's a spirit. It's a spirit that's associated with smoking, that seems harmless, that seems normal. It's not a big deal. It's just a plant, we say. It's just a plant that you just light that turns into marijuana. It's not a big deal, we say. You know what I'm saying? But it is. And that's what the enemy tries to do, to control us, to make something seem like it's not a big deal. Like what he did in the Garden of Eden. He was like, he told Eve, you can have from the fruit of knowledge of wisdom. Ain't nothing gonna happen to you. It's not a big deal. You're just gonna be smarter. Like, that's sometimes what I would hear whenever I want to smoke. It's not a big deal. Your food is gonna taste better. It's not that serious. Just go smoke that blunt. It's not that serious. You had a long day. You had a great week. Just go celebrate it by celebrating. I mean, go celebrate it by smoking. That's what I would feel. And it wasn't until the Lord showed me another example in the form of the show The Shy. So the Shy is a show that is based in Chicago. It's about a bunch of teenagers, that just follows their life or whatever. And I believe they're like on season 6 or 7, but one of those seasons, I think it was 6. It was one of those seasons shot. Um, the start of the episode was each member of the cast smoking or consuming marijuana in a different way. One scene was one of them smoking, rolling a blunt. Another one was someone taking an edible. Another one was someone smoking a bong. It was just different scenes of them showing different ways of the way they were smoking weed. And it really just surprised me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is on TV. Like, they're showing this. They're actively showing this. Like, this is on TV. They're not even hiding this. This is on national television. And I was really just taken aback. I was stunned. I was like, oh my gosh. And I heard the voice of the Lord say, you see, everybody's doing it. This is something that is normalized. And God has always told me, I've set you apart. I've set you apart. You can't do what everybody does. Sometimes when I even do what everybody does, which means I get punished for it. I get reprimanded severely when I do what everybody else does. And whenever I ask God, why did you punish me like that? He'll be like, because you knew better. I've chosen you. I've anointed you. So I know that you know better. So when you do what everybody else does, I'm going to punish you more than I would punish them, because you know me, you know better, and you know you're not supposed to do that. So with the weed, he was just like, when he showed me that example of the Shy, and he opened my eyes, because one of the things that I've been asking God for, and that's in that season and in this season too, because I feel like we could always be renewed. I've been asking him to renew my vision, to renew my mindset, to renew my hearing, and that I shouldn't lean on my own understanding. And I want to borrow his vision and his eyes and see things for what they are. And when that episode aired, he was just like, this is what I've been trying to show you. Everybody's doing it now. And you're doing this too. So now you know, because this is what's being broadcasted as normal. I want you to stop. And it's not normal. I want you to stop. This is something I want you to stop doing. And I was just like, oh my goodness. You ever realize that you've done something wrong and you thought that it was harmless, and then you realize that it was deeper than that? You feel sick to your stomach. I started to replay back in my mind all the times that I've smoked weed, all the times that I thought it wasn't a big deal, that I was just smoking anyhow. And I was just like, oh my God, all this time God was not pleased. All this time that I was smoking weed, whether it was socially or was independently or whatever, God was not pleased with me. And I remember going on a fast, and I fasted for, I didn't smoke, and I didn't eat, and I didn't drink. I fasted for 3 days, and I was really in my word, and I was reaching out to God, and I was telling him how sorry I was. I was very apologetic, because in the past, when I would fast, let's say I would fast for 3 days, fasting for God to do something in my life, I would fast. I wouldn't, from 12, let's say 12 to 3, from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't drink, I wouldn't smoke. But after I was done fasting, I would eat, and then I would hit the blunt. And I didn't think that was a big deal. But in this fasting, God showed me like you can't do that. When you repent and you say sorry for doing something, when you apologize to me for doing uh let me get my words right. When you apologize to me for doing something, you have to repent. You have to turn away from doing it. You have to deny your flesh. You have to turn away from it. You can't go back to doing it. You can't go back to doing the same thing and then apologize to me again because you know that I'm a forgiving God. You know that I'm going to forgive you. That's not how this works. And he gave me the scenario with my twin sister because me and my sister were not in communication. She's no longer in my life, and I'll talk about that in later episodes. But she's just not allowed in my life. So, and it's because of the way she's treated me in the past and the way she's treated me in our relationship. And she would apologize, but then she would do something even worse. And then she'll do apologize again, and she'll do something even worse than that. And it just kept going. And God used that as an example. And he said, when that happens and she apologizes to you and she does something worse, and she does something worse later on, how does that make you feel? When her bad actions repeats itself, how does that make you feel? And I told you it doesn't make me feel good. And I don't like being around her when she's like that. And he was like, but that's what you do to me. You apologize to me and you go back to it. I want you to apologize to me and turn away from that behavior. I want you to turn away from that very thing that you're apologizing to me for. Not for you to go back to it because you know that I'm a forgiving God and you take advantage of my kindness. Don't do that because I'm a forgiving God. And I was like, oh my God. And it really dawned on me like, oh my goodness. And I thought to myself like all the times I was smoking weed that I thought was not a big deal, like he was not pleased. He was not pleased with me. And it just made me feel really bad. And he brought me back to the Aladdin scenario. And he said, when you're not in your right mind, when you're not in your sober mind, you're giving the enemy authority to control you. You're giving him license to control everything that you do. Why do you think whenever we smoke weed, we're paranoid? We're looking over our shoulder like we're in high alert, like almost like in the Garden of Eden when they ate from the fruit of knowledge and wisdom and they realized that they were naked. You know what I mean? Like, catch that. Catch that tea, baby. Like, when we smoke, we feel like we see everything. You see things that aren't even there. We put two and two together when two and two don't even five or four. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he really had to speak to me about that. So he really had to redeem me from that. I was really that was really an issue for me. That was really a big issue for me. I didn't think that was a big deal. I thought it was innocent. I didn't think it was a big deal. After I did my fast and he revealed what he revealed to me in the days that I was fasting, it wasn't even 3 days. I fasted for days. I fasted until he told me to stop. Until he told me that, okay. And I had to reach out to like the people that I'd smoked a blunt with or I've ever shared a blunt with or I've ever socially smoked with, and I told them like, hey, God has delivered me from this, and he's delivered me from weed, and I have to share this testimony with you guys because I've shared a blunt or two with you guys on one or two occasions, and if I could share a blunt with you, I could share this testimony as well. And I thought that was really important to do because one of the things about, I don't want to lead anyone into sin, because when we lead someone else into sin, our punishment is worse than anything. We take on the punishment, our own punishment, and we take theirs too, because we led them into that. And smoking, thinking is a communal thing, it's a sin. And I'm sharing a blunt with someone and just socially thinking it's not a big deal. I'm bringing them into my sin, and God is not pleased. And one of the things for me is I want to see him. I don't want him to say to me that he doesn't know me or I didn't know him, or I didn't know him because we was an idol for me in my earthly life, in my physical life. I don't want him to say something else was more important to him than more important to me than him. Because for a very long time, weed was very important to me. I could not wait to get high. Even saying high in that sense sounds so weird, but that's just what it is. People that do heroin and coke and ice, which is so wild to me, they use the same term. And that's the same term we use when we smoke weed. We're getting high, and we don't see how strong of a word it is. We don't see what it's associated with. Like, that's not enough for us to stop doing it. You know what I'm saying? I want to meet God. I want to meet Jesus. And I don't want what I did on this to do what I did on this earth to keep me away from him. It's not that serious. A little 15, 20 minute high ain't that serious. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't even last anyway. And that's something that he's shown me. Anytime that my high would wear off, I would always go back to it, almost like a chain smoker. To the point it even started to scare me. I'm like, why am I smoking like this? Like, there'll be times I will go to the gym and I'm working out and my chest would feel heavy and tight. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't run like long distance. Like, it would scare me. Like, my body isn't my temple. It's a temple. Like, why am I doing this? Like, because of weed. It's not even that serious. And God really had to show me, and he had to show me that this is not what I should be doing, because one thing about being chosen is that God is going to leave the 99 to come after you. And I'm so grateful because every time I've gone a different way, God has always come after me. And that makes me know how special I am and the assignment that's on my life. And I don't want to give that assignment up, because after all this is done on earth, I want him to say, "Well done, daughter." I want him to be really proud of me. And I don't want what we do on this earth to keep us from the kingdom, because this world is not the final destination. This is just a test. I feel like God is just like rallying up all of his soldiers. He's rallying all of the people, his people, all the trials and tribulations that we go through, that we get over, is a test to see who's the strongest to be next to him, to be at his right hand like Jesus. And I don't want what we do on this earth to keep us away from being with him. And I feel like this is just me sharing my testimony, because this is a huge testimony for me, because when I was introduced to weed, I didn't think it was a big deal, but it followed me for years. I would smoke and I would do whatever, and I thought it wasn't a big deal. But I didn't know at the time that God was not pleased with it. He was not happy with it. Even still, he was blessing me in my life, yes, but he wasn't happy with the fact that I was smoking, you know? And it's in any addiction, whatever it is that you're battling. I'm not sure who's listening to this, but this is my truth. And if it frees you, I'm glad. Whatever you're bound to, whatever it's weed, whatever it's alcohol, whatever it's porn, whatever it's food, even porn. Porn is a thing. A lot of people are addicted to porn. I didn't know that until I went to a church service and the pastor had like statistics like on a PowerPoint about all the people that are like addicted to porn, even church leaders. Like, and I was really like enlightened by that. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I had no idea. But that's something that's like normalized for people to watch porn and masturbate. Like, that's a thing. People think that that's okay, and it's not. But whatever you're addicted to, if it's any of the things that I've listed, take a fast. Fast from that thing. Fast for a few days. Bury yourself in your word, in God, and pray about it. And ask God to show you what He wants you to see. Ask Him for new vision, for new mindset. Ask Him to renew your vision, to renew your hearing. Ask Him, please let me borrow your hearing. Let me see how you see it. I want to be like you. Ask Him to see things differently, to not lean on your own understanding, because those that we smoke weed and we don't think anything of it, that's us leaning on our own understanding. Have you ever asked God, should I be doing this? Have you ever asked? I was so scared to even ask because I knew what he would say. I knew what the answer would be. I was so scared to ask, and I knew he was gonna say no. But I was so scared. But I had grown such love for weed. I thought it was just something that just freed me instantly, and that's just all it does. Instantly, it's instant gratification. You yearn for that high again. Like, but you have to go back to it to gain a new high. It gets to the point where your tolerance is gone. You might hit it one or two times and you are high as a kite. Now you hit it three or four times, it does nothing. Now you have to hit it three, six or five times, six or seven times to feel the effects. Girl, you just building your tolerance for it. Now you're even deeper into it. You're becoming more and more bound to it. I know because I was there. I was at that place in my life where I smoked so much that started to become my norm. I wasn't even getting high anymore. I had to smoke to just be around people, to feel normal, to enjoy my food. It was that deep. It was that deep. And I feel like God was seeing how deep it was going and he had to fish me out of that. He was like, girl, you are one of my chosen ones. You have an assignment on your life. You're not going that route, baby. Because that's what the enemy does. When he knows that you have an assignment on your life, he wants to use you to sabotage yourself. He wants you to sabotage yourself. He wants to put things in your path that seem like it's harmless, like it's innocent, like it's not a big deal. He wants you to ruin yourself. Isn't that crazy? I watched there's this guy on my feed. Um he what does he do? He like records he goes around like the streets of like Philly and he records like homeless individuals who are addicted to drugs. I'm not sure what type of drugs they're addicted to, but it has them all slouched and they're almost like zombied out. And I watch that and I'm just like, oh my goodness. Like we don't even do that, but still for a substance to have you in that state, in that condition, it's alarming. It's like they're not even themselves. I think to myself like the type of lives these people might have had, the type of assignment that was on them, the type of assignment that was on their life that's just completely deactivated because they're chasing after this high. They're chasing after this high that feeds their flesh, literally feeds their flesh. They're just on the streets, just rotting away. It gives you a visual representation of being bound to something that is not of God, what it does to you, what the enemy does. He makes you use your own hand to ruin yourself. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that God saw me worthy enough to go after because oh my goodness, I never did anything like that. Being in a Nigerian house, like I said, being in a Nigerian household, I know a lot of Nigerians can attest to this. We'd be a little uptight, a little anxious, God forbid, because there's just film of perfection that is thrusted upon us. There's this standard that we have to maintain that our parents don't even maintain themselves. And you have to do this and be this and do that and be this and sometimes you can fall into something that you know that could give you instant gratification, but it's not of the Lord. Like marijuana, that doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it is. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it's really it's even really refreshing talking about this too. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. Sometimes it can be too much striving for perfection. But anyway, that's my testimony. Judge me or whatever. I don't care, sweetie. If this even helps one person listening to this right now, job well done, honey. Okay? It is what it is. This is what Life with Taiwo, the podcast, is all about. We're honest here. We speak the truth here. It ain't nothing. I would never gatekeep something that could help somebody else just so I could look perfect because I'm not perfect. I'm not Jesus. I want to be like Jesus, but I'm not perfect. We all go through things, we all do things that we're not proud of. It doesn't make us any less human. And I just want you to know that if you're struggling with addiction, because that is an addiction, it just seems really normal. So it seems like it's not that big of a deal, but it is an addiction. But it is something that needs to be plucked from the root, and God wants to pluck it for you. So if you are addicted to any substance, alcohol, anything, and you're using it as a coping mechanism, just know that God is not pleased and He wants to help you with that. So, yep. going back to being kings and queens, we are kings and queens of our bodies, and God loves us so much, and it just feels like we do live in a stressful world. The state of the economy, Trump, by God's grace, He does what's right by us, by God's grace. But whatever, inflation, we live in a high stress society. We live in the times where people are really struggling, really stressed. So sometimes it's easier to pick up the blunt, but y'all, it's not the answer. It never will be, because you will always be bound to it. You always have to go back to it. Like, I don't want nothing that I have to go back to that I can't stand by myself. I don't want to be bound to anything. So, yeah, don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on God. I challenge you to take a fast from whatever it is that you're bound to. Take a fast, talk to God, ask Him, ask your Creator, am I supposed to be doing this? Straight up. That's one of the most scariest things, is to ask God if you're supposed to be doing something, or if someone's supposed to be in your life, because He will answer you. He will give you your response. But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to episode 2 of Life with Taiwo, the podcast, where we are honest, we are raw, we are uncut, we don't gatekeep nothing. We speak so people can be free from whatever it is that they're currently going through, you know? And I want you to feel seen, because you are. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you so much. Shout out to my girl Lola. Today is the 18th. We're actually going out of town for my grandpa Bunch's funeral. He passed just yesterday, and I just pray he rests in peace. So we're going to give him an amazing homegoing, and I really wanted to make sure you guys got this episode, because I'm trying to stay consistent with you guys. I want to be on top of this. This is an assignment for me. I'm on assignment, and I don't want to waste the God's time. I don't want to waste your time. So yeah, this episode will be uploaded on Friday. Obviously, it is Friday. This is when you guys are listening to it. But I wanted to make sure I recorded this before I went out of town in the next 48 hours. But anyway, I wanted to shout out to my girl Lola. It's the 18th, but her birthday is the 25th, the 21st. Excuse me. She turns 30. Happy birthday, mama. Um, I don't know. So I planned this birthday dinner for her on Saturday. I kept this from her since like June. I've been planning this since June. And I just told her I was taking her out to eat or whatever, but really and truly I'm hosting a birthday dinner at my home, with her closest friends, and we're gonna have a ball. But girl, I kept this from you. I hope you were surprised. I hope you enjoyed everything I planned for you, and I want to tell you I love you. Happy birthday. I hope your 30s are just everything and more. And yeah, I hope you were surprised, girl. I got you good. I hope I got you good. Love you. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Life with Taiwo, the podcast. Visuals are, I believe, are going to start probably episode 3 or 4. I'm still setting up my room. It's really perfect. I really could start recording in here, but I'm just like, I'm a perfectionist, so I want everything to be absolutely perfect. I want it to be a certain way before I start recording, but visuals are coming soon on YouTube. So that is underway. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. I love y'all. Appreciate you. Thank you for all the love. Mwah. See you guys next week, God willing. Bye, babies. Not bye, babies. Bye, y'all. Bye.